Okay, as you can tell, some of the people that normally show up to the Shia are waiting on a gas line. Hopefully they're listening at some other venue. It is a little bit difficult to get out tonight. It seems like Maimer HaChacham deja vu all over again. The truth is, you would think after all that we've gone through, hurricanes and elections and storms and floods, and the last thing we need is a snowstorm tonight. Another storm now? We've mentioned many times that Baal Shem Tov says that most of the time when a person has an experience in life, it usually repeats itself in short order. In other words, if you were never in a specific place, you may have never been there, and suddenly you're there for maybe two unrelated reasons, one day after the other. Never heard of a certain street, and suddenly you never heard of a certain person, and suddenly you hear about it, the same person. 1 week, and the next week you say, never heard of this person, suddenly you hear about him twice. You may have never heard a certain story or a Dvar Torah, and suddenly your Rav says it in shul, at the beginning of the drasha, when you're still up sometimes, and then your boy comes home and he has it on his Dvar Torah sheet, two unconnected things, and you get the idea that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants you at a certain point in your life to hear something. The Rebbeinu Shalom wants you to take care of something, and if you don't get the message, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to keep sending you back. So clearly, there's a message for us over here, as the world seems to be radically folding and unfolding. The Chavetz Chaim says a mashal. I know it's a mashal. I guess he meant it very real. A person comes up to Shemayim after 120 years. There are certain questions that they ask him, and amongst the questions are, how much did you commit yourself to limit HaTorah? Karisa v'shenisa, did you learn? Did you chazer? And the person, guess the battery muching. Did you learn, or did you chazer? Or ran out of gas? I don't know. The cell phones work on gas. Okay, Moshe. In any event, let's forge on. So they asked the person, Karisa v'shenisa, did you learn? Did you... And the Chavetz Chaim says, I guess it shows us the illusion that we're in sometimes. And we's like standing before the Bezdin Shalmaila and we're shivering, and the Bezdin Shalmaila says, I'm asking you a question, Karisa v'shenisa. Did you learn? Did you chazer? Did you read? Did you chazer? Oh yeah. And we take out this newspaper and we say, I was reading this all the time. Every edition of the New York Times, last 40 years. I'm telling you. As it went from right to left, so he was like reading it, he says, he times like a sefer, right? Started out a little bit right, he was going more to the left, so isn't it like Hebrew, I'm reading it, and then they tell him, no. Karisa v'shenisa, we mean Torah Shebal Peh, not this. Oh. So apparently, it's very easy to lose sight over what we are doing down here in this world. Now think about this for a moment. For all those, the last 6 months, that we're analyzing every single poll, Romney, Obama, back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth, and up and down, and up and down, and up and down. So was it worth it? Wasn't it Kedai just to say, what's the point of a poll? When I'll find out who won afterwards. So how much of our life do we spend doing things because it looks to be exciting, or maybe it's a distraction from real life, and at the end, this is what you read, this is what you analyzed. What do you get out of analyzing this? What do you mean, Bezdin Shalmaila? I sat there with whole chakiras and drishas to try to figure out if Romney was going to win Ohio. 3 months ago, we were already darshaning this, and we had 1,000 different stories one way or another. Yeah, but what do you get out of that? You could have sat there with a taisvis, and then I could reward you for it. So now, it's kind of hard to figure if the elections are outshadowing the storm, or the storm is outshadowing the elections, or the gas lines are outshadowing both, or vice versa. But it's very clear that something is going on around here. And if we're going to be completely blind to this, not to get the idea that because Baruch Hu is sending us some message. Now, I'm not going to suggest what the message is. We went through this last week. But it means every single person on his own has to figure out, I have to make my life better, or maybe, just maybe, like Noach in the Teva, we're not that far off now. Maybe there's a massive amount of chesed that is necessary in order to save Klal Yisrael from whatever is still whatever is still coming. We don't know this. You know, there's a time the Chassam Sofer, he writes this. Diaries in the Chassam Sofer, he writes that he had these dreams and dreams. He was very frightened by the dreams. Amen. And so they even said to the Chassam Sofer, you're frightened by the dreams. Why are you frightened by the dreams? Doesn't it say that the Talmud Chacham doesn't have bad dreams? He says, it's not a bad dream if you're frightened by a dream. It alerts you to do tshuva, do something. And that year in Preshburg, the Danbe River overflowed and there was massive flooding. Massive flooding. Mamish houses were swept away. And the Chassam Sofer had set up a major, major rescue network. And they had their version of Shamrim and Chaveirim and Challah. And there's even a letter from the Austrian-Hungarian Empire thanking the Chassam Sofer for saving so many lives. So when it was all over, they said to the Chassam Sofer, I guess this is what it was. He said no. He thinks this is the hachana to what it was. And maybe the massive chesed is going to save us for what we're doing. A little bit later on that year, though I'm not sure they quite predicted that, Napoleon surrounded the city and started shelling the city. And the Chassam Sofer, he did a whole series of things called Pidyon Nefesh, with tzedakah, with Tilim at night. But it was chesed based, it was tefillah based, it was tzedakah based. And Pile Ploim, although Napoleon shelled Preshburg with whatever the madrega of cannibals were in those days, but they were still deadly. Nobody in the Chassam Sofer's Kehillah, there were no fatalities. And there was one fatality. I'm saying the name because the Chassam Sofer writes this in the Sefer HaZachonis. A fellow by the name of Wolf Kamerang. He was the only one that was killed. He was hit by shrapnel. And people remembered this wolf was an agent for apartment houses. And the Chassam Sofer called him in before the whole year started and said to him, you know that the prices of apartments are too high. People don't have where to live. Please bring them down. So he said, who are you to tell me, what are you, the rabbi makes rent control over here? Rent stabilization? Who are you to tell me what to do? So the Chassam Sofer says, I'm the Rav of the town. He says, I'm not from this town and you're not my Rav. And apparently Wolf had written his own death warrant. Because if he wasn't the Chassam Sofer's Rav, then he wasn't under his umbrella of protection. But I think if you look at that Sefer HaZachonis and you see that it started with floods, massive, massive floods he describes over there, very similar. And just charge the olam to tshuva and charge the olam to tzedakah and to chesed. And later on there was such yeshuas that maybe, and again, here some Sofer to say it, but maybe the Rebbeinu Shalom wants a tremendous amount of chesed on our part right now, a tremendous amount of tzedakah for who knows what's coming. Okay, let's not be so ominous over here, and let's talk a little bit comedy. Let's talk about the elections. Okay? I don't know. Suddenly it came and went. I found something very strange. Last night, people were saying, Obama won. You heard? He won. He won. It was like, And this morning it was like, okay. As the shock is gone. Okay. It was very fast. Like we already got used to it very, very quickly. I went to vote yesterday. I don't always go to vote, but I did go to vote now. And it was quite an experience. First of all, I see there were major, major changes to the last time I went voting. Last time I went voting, you had to stand on one line. Now you had to stand on 3 lines. That was a major oiftui.
At the same time.
Right, because you need 3 times the amount of personnel to run the elections because there were 3 different lines. And also, each of the 3 different lines was much longer than the one line that was there last time. So again, you have another example of the federal government's efficiency. Is FEMA in charge of elections? I'm not sure exactly what it stands for. FEMA, Federal Election, Mess Up Association, something like that, I don't know. Okay. Now, I don't know, maybe it's the same people that designed the gas lines, that designed the election lines. Personally, I liked the lever. You know why? Because if you were angry at a certain candidate and you voted for his opponent, you went, ha! Vented your frustration. It's very hard to do when you're filling in a circle, like, I want to get even with you. That doesn't work. It's not like, boom, You feel like you're a bar ox. I think they took away from Americans a very, at least in New York State, a very, means of like releasing a lot of energy. I hold, okay? It's not that often that you get a minute of privacy with a curtain around you and like, shoo, I'm going to sleep for a second, And here, everything is out in the open, okay? So, I don't know, all the years when you went to vote, You pull the lever. Now you get to do arts and crafts. And they ask you, do you know how to do it? Do you know how to do it 10 times? Yes, I learned this in pre-1A. Yes, in kindergarten we colored circles. Yes, I know how to do it. Then there's like this thing that the elected people, don't show me. Do I fill in this or this? Right. I'm not going to look at what you're doing. Privacy. Right. You have the curtain back, like you know. I can't look. Don't show me. Look, what are we thinking writing already over here? You know, either Ramney or Obama. Like, what else do you think is going to be here already? What saw you Satori here? Like, you know, why can't look? It's privacy. Like, who cares if you look? I guess all the elected officials were told not to look. They don't look at the ballots. They don't look at the ballots. I'm just wondering if that also includes those that were counting the ballots if they don't look at the ballots. Now let them look. Stop, Obama got here 100. Stop. Comes out. Stop. He wanted Ohio. Stop. He wanted New York. Okay, I didn't do it that way. So you got to think about this. Think about this for a moment. Billions were spent on this campaign. They were raised by Governor Romney, by President Obama. So where are we after all these billions? Exactly where we are to start with. Obama's president. We could have skipped the whole thing. You know what I mean? Do you know how many school vouchers you could have had for all those billions? I'll tell you, one of the milas of the long lines when you get to vote in Borough Park is at least you get to learn who your neighbors are, because you sometimes don't know that. So like, meet a bunch of people online for 20 minutes. Who are you? Oh, you live now in the apartment upstairs from me. Oh, really? That's why we're on the same one. We're in the same district. Yeah, last 20 years. No kidding, really. So there is some purpose to the line. You know, they say that there was this person, he lived in the east, I don't know, the east side, the west side, I don't know where. But it was the neighborhood was going a shtickle this way, that way. And he was walking home at night into a high project building. And there's a shadowy figure walking behind him. So he's very nervous, looking for the mace. He's looking for the cell phone. He doesn't know. Walks into the elevator. And this shadowy figure walks in behind him. He read in one of those books that FEMA probably gives out in case you're being followed. Don't make eye contact. When making eye contact, you know, just door opens up, you walk on your floor, he walks out behind you. There's a long, dark corridor. You're going, this is it. What a day to have a yahrzeit. No? I could just see my Enikoch saying, come on, now a yahrzeit Suda? We just came back. Oh boy. And you turn the corner toward your apartment, and he turns the corner behind you. And you're walking up to your door, and he's walking up right behind you. And you say, that's it. Best defense is a good offense. And you turn around with your briefcase, and whack! And the guy goes, what do you want from me? He goes, who are you? Why are you following me? Because I live right next door to you. That's why I'm following you. What do you mean why I'm following you? I want to ask you a kasha. How come yesterday when I went to vote, and there were so many, like, hundreds of people there online, there were no police, nothing, to organize the line. There was one cop that said Police Academy on his thing. He doesn't even have smicha yet. Didn't even start the Yardesh here, this guy. You know? They didn't even teach him yet what a handcuff is. You know? See this? He doesn't. And how come by the gas line, the big police vans, big lights, blazing lights, they're standing there like mamish, like, you know, the highest SWAT teams, like, you know, ready to move in. You know, cuts a line, boom, well, move in on that. What's that? You know, like, whoa. So like here's a long line. How come it's not like the same line? So I realized Pshat is like this. You're going to vote. Why am I going to vote? I'm going to make a chiluk who wins the presidency or even the local elections. No, the Rabbanim said you should vote. I listen to the words of the Rabbanim. I feel it's my duty. I'm a citizen. The right thing to do is to go vote. You know, there are countries that fine you for, I think in Australia, if you don't vote, you get a fine. Okay? Over here, they don't fine you, they just make you color. But, so I'm saying a guy steps in ahead of you. Excuse me, I'm here before you. Okay, go already. You know, he votes before you. You know? It's not like what I'm doing is going to make a difference. I'm doing my shtadlis. I'm supposed to vote. But the gas, I'm waiting here for gas. He's going ahead of me. He's taking my gas. It's going to get empty before I get there. No, World War III. I'm ready to fight and kill. You know, what does it say? You know, he's ready and that's it. Now, if we really understood that it says, but the two are not connected to each other. With the sweat of your brow, you're going to eat bread. But the two are not directly connected. What does it mean the two are not directly connected? It means that you have to work, you do your shtadlis, and Eibishter gives you parnasa, but the two aren't necessarily connected. I am not earning my parnasa. I am only engaging in my endeavors, and the Rabbi Shalom, when I do mine, the Rabbi Shalom does his. The Belzerov Taich, I think today's the yard site. The Hem and Vashem, Avraham Avinu believed in Hashem, and it was considered a tzedakah. What does it mean it was considered a tzedakah? That Avraham Avinu was privy to all these ma'asim, all these miracles, and the Eibishter gave Avraham Avinu tremendous power. And Avram said, I'm just doing what Hashem's pressing the button. Hashem told me to do. Hashem does it. There was over Hem and Bashem, and that was considered a tzedakah that Avram never lost his amunah. All I do is I try. So if you really, really believe that, the Welt says of art, they asked somebody, how did you become rich? How did you make it to the Forbes top 10 list? The old start, I was walking on the street, and I found $50. And I polished it, and I bought an apple, and I shined the apple, and I sold the apple. I bought 2 apples, shined it, sold it, bought 4. And then I bought a little apple cart. And then I bought, one of those called bodegas, what are they called? The things, I call it what they call the huts. Kiosks. And then I tried to buy a fruit store. And then I married a daughter of a multi-billionaire. But the truth is that it's connected. Because when you do, you make your ishtadlis, and then the Ma'ashem does his. Ma'ashem goes afterwards. There's no Schachter. And we discussed this last week. We said there's parnas. We can't earn parnasa. We can't guarantee our health. We can't guarantee the chinuch of our children. We can't guarantee shalom bayis. What we could do is we do our share, and we say to Ma'ashem, you do yours. That's what we could do. But if anyone thinks that he creates parnasa, he creates health, or he creates good children, or he creates shalom bayis, or he creates shiduchim, then he's a fool. Then he's a fool. Somebody told me B'Shem, a very clever accountant. They were telling me about somebody who mortgaged his whole house and his friend's house to buy a certain stock. He says, in Gelungen, it worked. He became rich. He said the man is a shaita. He's a fool. He could have lost everything. That it worked, that he made money. He said 99 out of 100 people lose their pants on this. So he made money. So whatever was B'Shem to make money, he's still a fool. What would happen, success or failure is not directly connected to what we do. We think we control the world. What did they say? There was this Galiciana Yidl. His horse used to eat two bushels of hay a week. He got him down to 1 bushel of hay. They got him down to half a bushel. And they got him down to a quarter bushel. Then he got him down to 1 straw a week. And they got him down to a half a straw a week. Then he said, shh, it's a dreht affair, he said, that horse. I almost had him trained not to eat anything. He dies on me. So we make that mistake. I think that we're trying to train our cars now to do that without gas, if we're getting the same lesson. We make the same mistake. Somebody told me it was my gas station. This guy standing in line like for, I think since the Civil War there, holding one of these red containers. And, of course, it finally gets to him. They tell him no more gas, So he said, I'm going home with gas. I'm going home with gas. My car's out of gas. I'm going home with gas. He got so angry, he threw the container through the glass of the office. Police arrested him. He went home with gas in the police car. Yeah, and then where's home? Was the jail? Was the prison that night? Why now? It's not a joke. I know of a bacher that went into this massive depression. His learning was a tremendous masmid. He was a tremendous masmid. One day he stopped learning. And Mashgiach said to him, what happened? He said he read a sefer, and he heard that the Chazon Ish has finished Shas 10 times by the time he was 15 years old. Because what's the problem? He goes, I'm 16, I didn't finish Shas yet. My dream was to become the Chazon Ish. I missed the boat, so forget it. There's a certain danger when you think, I'm going to accomplish this. The Rebbe Shalom is not asking us to accomplish anything. The Rebbe Shalom is asking us to give it our best. It's up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu what we accomplish. Belzer Ravschan Levracha, the Rebbe Doiv Belzer, was once with his father in Wien. They passed by, it was Friday night. And there weren't even Jews in that part of the city. And they passed by what they thought was an army base. And out of a certain room they heard the koil, Omar Rabba! learning. They ran upstairs to see a soldier sitting there. And Belzer says, who are you? He says he was from the Kantaristen. Those were from the kids that were grabbed away when they were little. The Tsar made the decree that sent him for 30 years. He says his mother ran after him, cried. He said, please be a Shomer Shabbos. He says, for some reason, my general liked me. And once he asked me, he said, what can I do for you? He said, don't make me work on Shabbos. He said, okay, I'll give you a separate room, and you can do whatever you want there. He says, so Hashem gave me this gift of Shabbos. He says, I open up a Gemara, I sit here, and I just learn the entire time. I run to daven, I run to learn, I eat quickly, and this is Shabbos. So the Belzer said, it could be this soldier is holding up the Geula, he's holding up the redemption, because his Torah is so choshev in Shemai. Now here's the catch. You know why no one's fighting? No one's getting all nervous by voting? Because what am I doing? I'm doing my job. Whatever happens, happens. But if you really believed when you were online for gas, if you really believe that everything is Hashgacha Pratis, I'm not going to get one drop less, I'm not going to get one drop more, no one's going to get my gas and I'm not going to get his, you also wouldn't fight and get nervous and get upset. It may be difficult, it may be hard, but the passion, the emotion, the anger wouldn't be there. So this fellow tells me that he just leased the BMW, $750 a month. He can't drive it. He has no gas. He's paid $750 a month for a BMW that he can't drive. And to add to his stories, his next door neighbor is not home. Didn't see the connection. Erased it to the safe. And I realized his next door neighbor was home, and it's worth the $700. The whole day he watches this BMW parked. He's not even home. What am I paying this money? So I then realized that being that they had a gift, somebody brought me gas. I'm not going to mention names. But I said, a 98 Astro with gas is a lot better off than a 212 BMW without gas. You hear that? Used to be a man in my shul. His name was Moshe Bramberg. Zecher Tzadik Levracha. I say Zecher Tzadik Levracha because he grew up here. He was nifter about 10 years ago, and he was in his high 90s. So you could do the math when he grew up in Borough Park. And he said he took on to be Shomer Shabbos in the most difficult times. He was a soldier in World War II. He used to come around, he lived till he's 99, a real chain smoker, cigars. So he used to come, Yom Tov used to walk him back with a wheelchair. So he started telling me about all his World War II pals when he came back. He said he had a little candy store someplace. He said they had these big buildings, He says, these names, Smoky Sam and Terrible Jake, I don't know, the big pirates, I don't know, they had these big buildings, he goes, Manhattan, these things, he says, they made fun of me. They said, what are you? Yeah. He says that I'm just a little Moshe, he says. That's chashuv children, sitting and learning. Unbelievable. And finally, at one point he said, candy store, they have these big buildings. He goes, he says, I outlived them by 10 years. Now it's Moshe, The big buildings. Who's bigger now? Who's taller now? If we just change a little bit of who we are in life, of what our mahalach is, of what our goal is, and many things will change along. That's all. So if you're very frustrated if you have a BMW and you can't drive it. He said that Rabbi Wein always says a story that he says when he first became Rav, he was driving a Dodge Dart, one of my kind of cars, if you remember that car. Anyone remember the Dodge Dart over here? You remember it? You know that story, he said it many times. This Rolls Royce pulls up along a Dodge Dart. Yeshiva Bach is inside. He goes, I like my car better than yours. He looks at the Bentley or the Rolls Royce and says, why? Because look, you see, I give a Zetz, the whole seat falls back. I have a pillow, I lay all the way back, first class on an airplane. Your seat goes all the way back. He tries, and the Rolls Royce seat doesn't go all the way back. So angry, goes back to the dealer. They order from England, I don't know, $100,000 seat. They put it in, flush back. And he goes, he's going to find him now. He's going to show him I have a seat. He can't find him. Finally, he sees the Dart parked someplace. Pulls up alongside, beep, 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 beep. And he looks inside, he sees very full of water inside. And he goes, he wants to show him, look what I have. And finally, the guy rolls down the window, his pay is all wet. He goes, don't bother me when I'm taking a shower, please, he says. He says out of the Dodge Dart. Okay. So Rabbi Wein, he says a story that he drove in his Dodge Dart to a parking lot in Manhattan, and this kid comes with a Ferrari or something, a Maserati, I guess, one of those things, and again, the parking lot guy says, no, you can't take this. He says, why not? You can't, shimai for not. Our insurance company doesn't let us take such cars. He said, I'm supposed to park it on the street. It's not my problem. Get it out of this garage. You have no right to be here. Trespassing. Get that car. We don't want to just get scratched. We'll have to pay you how much. Get out of the garage. Then he's parking his dart. He goes, that heap of junk you're taking in my car, you're not going to take. So he says to me, you want to trade? No problem. You know? I remember my 89 Ford in the Schachter. I was bringing my mother to Manhattan every day. So I had to park in this parking lot. They always wanted to charge me double because it was so long, the wagon. And once my car is not coming, and my car is not coming, I'm like, where's my, it's late. What is taking them? The car they go like an elevator and they come up and waiting and waiting and waiting. And there's no, he beeps. Finally this like Jamaican attendant comes back up and he drives out and he like, after a half hour, he goes, where were you? He goes, it turns out like the World of Midas was on. He was listening to this Baal Shem Tov story. He says, that's a good story, you know? So that's what I'm waiting here for a half hour for you to finish the story? He goes, he wanted to know about Alexi's Baal Shem Tov's wagon that flies in the air, where you can get it. He was very impressed. Okay. So what are you going to say? That you had over here the elections, and that billions went for naught. Right? We started with President Obama, we left with President Obama. Now, that's not true. That depends how you look at things. If you say the whole thing was seeking power, okay, for those who were seeking power, there's a winner and a loser. That's democracy. But there were winners over here. The winners were, where did all these billions go? To writers, to posters, to photographers, to consultants, to people that fly business planes and buses, to ballrooms, to the overtime of the security for all the rallies, for graphic artists, for, right? It was B'Shek for all these people to make parnasa. And the tighter the race was, and the more money was raised, so that the Rabbi is laughing at us. You think it's for naught. You see how the Rabbi controls this world? And we're going to think that we have it all over there. You know, they were saying about the polls. The polls are not so accurate. Rather, turned out now they were reasonably accurate. But they're saying that the Democratic polls lean to this, and the Republican polls lean the other way, and there's liberals and conservatives, and there's internal tracking polls, and they have like this Spanish polls, or English, like sometimes people speak, they ask you if you speak only English. When you say yes, they start asking you the questions in Spanish, because where you get the questions, or vice versa, like, you know, let's see, if you vote for Obama, no English, if you want to vote for Obama, right, it's column C, right, Romney B, Obama C. Who you vote for? C? C, Obama, right, okay, you know, it depends how you ask the question, right? Depends how it, so they were saying that in order to make an that even though the polls all have negiyas, right, the liberal polls, the conservative polls, each one spins it their way, but if you take an average of all the polls, then you get a pretty accurate number. So when I heard that, I said, that's a Pella. Because everyone has their own negiyah, and everyone's trying to spin it for their candidate. But if you take an average of all of it, you get the truth. So in this world, we mentioned this last week. And David HaMelech cries out, Merabi Masech Hashem. Everybody goes out with their negiyas. We all go out with our lack of objectivity, and we try to think we're doing what's good for us. And the Rabbi Hashem puts it all together and brings out the emes. We may be running away from the emes, but the world in its totality represents emes. I remember many years ago, I lived in an apartment house. Next to the apartment house, there was a simcha hall. And 1 o'clock in the morning, it was a very hot day, and he had his garbage piled up from a simcha, piled high. And, you know, there was a shul there, and the rav of the shul, the man, I remember, who knocked on my door 1 o'clock in the morning, apologized 1,000 times. He said he has a problem with the garbage truck. That they don't want to take away all these bags of garbage. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's a terribly hot day. If it stays, it's going to stay a whole week. Because my car is legally parked near the garbage. I have this thing, I always wind up parking near garbage. I open up the door like this pile of the garbage, like, I don't know why. Got my climbing things. So he said, I know it's 1 o'clock in the morning, it's a chutzpah, but I have no choice. Please, I'm so sorry. Can you move your car? I said, okay, no problem. So I come down with him, and we meet like the rav of the shul next door. He also apologizes. And we're schmoozing for a while. And then they came with me to move my car, because it's not so easy to find parking places, as a courtesy. We walk back, and we're schmoozing. And all of a sudden, there's still an ongoing simcha. And one of these yidden starts running, screaming, running. I don't know what happened. The next day I asked him what happened. He said, that earlier on that day he got a call from an individual who said he had to get a hold of a certain Rav. This person had a problem, was mamish a life and death problem. There was a certain level of expertise. He was the only one that was able to answer really. Everyone said, you got to get a hold of that Rav. He can answer you. They couldn't get a hold of him. They could not get a hold of him. They found that he was on his way to the country, and they took to chase a car after the country after him. They gave up. And the man was so tzubrach, and he needed an answer. He says, as we were sitting here, this person pulls up. This Rav comes out, he's going to the simcha downstairs. He was on his way to the country. He remembered about this simcha. He said that person's going to be insulted if he doesn't go. He told the driver to turn around after the George Washington Bridge and come back to the simcha. So we realized later, because he ran down to this Rav and said it's an emergency, and the Rav dealt with the Shiloh, resolved the issue. So I said, this Rav would have come back. There's no way in the world we would have known that he came back. He was looking for him all over the world. He would have not known. He's right here. The only way he knew is because we happened to be standing there at 2 o'clock in the morning. And we were never standing there at 2 o'clock in the morning. The only reason we were standing there is because of this garbage truck. So try to think, this sanitation worker that comes out and says, oh, I'm not moving back. Whatever superlatives he used, fill in the dots. Garbage. You know what I mean? Unless I back up right there. Right? And you would say, he's talking about garbage, and he's talking in the worst way, and he's screaming and angry. See, he realized that he's a shliach of the Rabbi Shalom right now to make sure that this person gets to this Rav. Do we see how the world is hashgacha? If we understood that, don't conquer anything. It's not in your control. Don't look for guarantees. It's not in your control. Ask the Rabbi Shalom for siyata d'shemaya to do the right things and to understand that whatever is. I'm doing my share. Let me do my ishtalis. Rabbi Shalom, you put the world together. It says, Leif tar baroli elikim, beruach nochi chadash bekirbi. It says the Sefer Kav Yashar. The David HaMelech cried, Leif tar, a pure heart, please, baroli elikim. The ruach nochai. Give me the power. Give me the courage. The ruach. Chadesh bekirbi. Because if I don't realize what I'm supposed to do, as opposed to what I'm going to accomplish, I'm going to have to come down to this world again and again till I do what I have to do. Because each and every one of us has to do a piece of the puzzle. And I don't want to have to come down to this world again. So, Leiv tar baroli elikim, says the Kav Yashar, Beruach nachin chadesh bekirbi. Right now, in my life now, give me the seichel to stop being angry about what I don't have, and I'm upset at my wife, and I'm upset at my husband, my shveh, my father, my mother. Tell me what to do. Beruach nachin chadesh bekirbi, in who I am. I don't want to have to come down again for this. Please, Rabbi Shalom, I beg of you. Yisrael Avoid, heard this story from Ramelech, Birim is al gesund. He had a chassid. Chassid had an only daughter. Got married when she was 18 to the equivalent of a prince in shining armor in Ruchnius. Great bacher. The second day of the Sheva Brachas, he collapsed and died. And to add pain to horror, this chassid had a baby brother, an infant. The only baby brother. Which meant that she could not remarry till she would receive chalitza from him. She would not be able to receive chalitza from him for another 13 years. So she was an aguna for 13 years. And her father came into the Yisaru Avodah and said, why? So the Yisaru Avodah said, why the chassan had to leave his world the day after the Sheva Brachas, after the Rabbi Shalom knows. As far as your daughter is concerned, let me tell you something. It was b'shet for your daughter not to find a shidduch till she's in her 30s. So the Rabbi Shalom went, and the Rabbi Shalom will always make it with the biggest chesed that's shaykh even in the din. Instead of her waiting till she's 30 feeling rejected, nobody wants me, so the Rabbi Shalom replaced that with anger. It's easier to deal with anger sometimes. For her, everyone is different. But for her, it would have been easier to deal with anger than rejection, because the rejection would have totally destroyed her. Do we understand the chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how the Rabbeinu Shalom works? So he said a story that there was another chassid, another time of the Yisaru Avodah, that he's walking on the street and he finds this coin. He was so poor, he had nothing. A coin, confounding. He's so jumping, he's so happy that he starts running home, races by a gate, and he hears a rip. And there's his one suit that he has, it's nice, it's always a square rip, right? It's always a exact 90-degree angle. I don't know the science over here. And he runs to the tailor says, go 1 coin. So he comes, he says to the Rabbi, what does the Rabbi want from you? You gave me a coin already, I had it for 2 seconds, or will you rip my jacket? So the Rebbe told him that a person's body is his levush, and there was Gzeira min hashamayim, you should lose your levush. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu changed it to your jacket. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu even gave you the money to pay for the jacket. Because when the Rebbeinu Shem does din, it is only the minimum amount of din that is necessary. Why won't you understand? The Mezritcha Maggid was once traveling with the Baal Shem Tov, and his gartel started to fall. And he wanted to adjust the gartel, and the Maggid said he was overwhelmed by such a pachad, by such a fear he never felt before in his life. So the Baal Shem Tov said, if you really believe that whatever you wear is a levush of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and your body is just a levush for you to do what you have to do, there is a madrega, there's a darga, v'ashwas, hashchina on it that is beyond our imagination. So says the Kav Yashar. David HaMelech says, Leif Torah baroli alekim beruach nachein chadash b'kirbi. Please Hashem, fix me. Let my ideals be straight. I shouldn't have to come down to this world again. He explains that Gilgul, we've discussed this earlier, comes in one of two ways. A person dies and is reborn into a guf and has to live out a life. Or there's something called Ibr Neshama. Ibr Neshama, like a lashon of an Isha Miyaberes, a pregnant woman, means that you don't realize it, but I don't want to use the word piggyback, because that would obviously not be the appropriate term. But there's an inya that a Neshama comes down and rides with you. There are times in your life where it's possible that a Neshama of your grandfather or grandmother or Rebbe comes down and is with you for a certain amount of time. There's a connection. That's called Ibr Neshama. Which means Lamaisa, that sometimes we say, I'm in a situation, I'll never get over, I can't do this, I'm not capable of dealing with it. You start. You don't know what help HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to send you, min hashemayim. Now, sorry, Meinu had three things. What were the three brachos in her house? She started baking challah, there was no end to the challah. Challah kept on going, which is a pretty big moifus. Her candles lit, kept on going, okay? We could use that now with a car, right? They say stories from Abba Chatzeri, never ran out of gas, his car. We need those mekabonim. Okay. And there was the Anan Kasher ala Ayo. There was a cloud over her the entire time. And you understand that there's a common denominator here. Sarah Imenu said, I have to start. I start baking challahs. I'll never be able to bake for all these archim. I don't mind. The Rebbeinu Hashem did his. It kept baking, kept going. I'll never bring enough light into these broken families. I light my Shabbos neighbors. It kept going. And she lived at a time that was surrounded by Avodah Zarah. What are you going to filter? You're going to filter? The whole world is Avodah Zarah. I will do best to create an onan around my oil. And that onan took on a life of its own. Okay? So Rashi tells us, why does it say that Sarah was 120 and 7 instead of 127? Because Kulan Shavuot Taiva, all her years were good. Really? All of her years were good. Sorry, man, all of her years was good. I think she had plenty pekel of tzaras. She was alone against the whole world of Avodah Zarah. Her husband went off to war, only with Eliezer, against, the entire Middle East. She had to resettle. She was twice kidnapped. She lived a century without children. She had the issues with Hagar and Yishmael. At the end, she's shocked by the Akedah. That's how an Neshama leaves the world. And Rashi says, Kul Hashem l'tayv, a great life. I don't want to say lahavdil, the politicians, there's no gas shortage. There's no gas shortage. What are you talking about? Where, what? There's just people getting to know each other. They're voting. They're lining up to vote. They're by each mobile station or whatever. She had a great life. Saktas Fasemis, you know what Kul Shavuot Taiva means? That sorry, Meinu had a million reasons to say, I throw in the towel, I can't endure this, I can't go on. And Kulan Shavuot Taiva, the Nisyanis of a child, the Nisyanis of adolescence, the Nisyanis throughout her life, she said, it's good, the Rebbeinu Hashem is making it the best as possible. It's not my concern to succeed, my concern is to try. I light the candle. And if you light the candle really believing that it's not up to me, the candle keeps on burning. She was always happy? I don't know. Here, let's listen to this pasuk. I'm angry at you. And now she's making fun of me now? Yishman Hashem Beini and Hashem judging you and me. Whoa. She sounds pretty angry. She sounds pretty upset. A little personal over there also. I mean, this is Sarah Imenu, the greatest mother, the greatest wife that ever lived. Right? She brings life to the world. Her neighbors keep on burning. Do our neighbors keep burning? Her challah keeps on baking. Do our challahs keep baking? Her honor never disappears. says that when Avram Avinu went to bury Sarah, came into the Marasa Machpelah, so Adam and Chava said, no. It's a problem. I'm so embarrassed. She brought life to the world. We brought death to the world. So Avram Avinu says, I'll daven for you. I'll daven for you. You shouldn't be embarrassed. So Adam is happy. He lays down again. Chava says, no. She's not coming here. No. I'm too embarrassed. So Avram had no choice. You have to rebury her. What does that mean? Not that we know what it means, but just try to understand a little bit. The Metzias, Chava said, how can I be together with her? I brought death, she brought life. And he says to her, you don't know Sari Meinu. She will sit down and she's going to be mechazik you. She will not look down at you. She will convince you you are the hachana to her bringing life to this world. You're going to see you have nothing to worry about. Now, what does it mean? So why was Sarah so angry? Why did she say, why is the Torah telling us like a very personal conversation between husband and wife? Why is the Torah even telling us this? Now, Rav Palm, Zecher Tzadik L'Vracha, every Parasha Chayei Sarah, every week Friday gave a Chumash. Rav Palm used to say, rather miss the Gemara shir during the week, but don't miss the Chumash shir Friday. So a nice Olam showed up on Friday, but Chayei Sarah was packed. Because every Parasha Chayei Sarah, Rav Palm used to talk about either Shalom Bayis or Shidduch. That was always the big, everyone came around. I remember I was in a bungalow colony once, and there was a guy, a Shalom Bayis expert, he's giving Shiurim and Shalom Bayis. No one showed up. So then they changed the sign. He said, he's giving shiurim on how to teach Shalom Bayis. Oh, everyone came. What a hit like how to teach Shalom Bayis, yeah. So one of the things this person said, he suggested, okay, what Sari Meinu's kavanah was, what this means, of course, we don't know. Look in the Archaim HaKadosh, the Ber Moshe of the Years of Rebbe. She was worried here about the whole future of Klal Yisrael. Let's just say, take the Pashat Pshat. Maybe Sari Meinu didn't mind that when it looks like, I say a guy's, because we're talking about sorry names, but when it looks like she got really angry at her husband and gave it to him, and she was punished for saying Yishbet Hashem Beini V'necha. Because when a person says Hashem, please punish that someone, you open up a kitrug, you open up the file on yourself. That's why she didn't live, that's why Abraham outlived her, Chazal say. However, after all is said and done, Sari Meinu was so great, she said, Rabbi Shalom, put this in the Torah, that I yelled at my husband. Should put this in the Torah? That you said to your husband, what did you do? How dare you? Yishbet Hashem, Hashem should judge you. That makes you look so not sorry, Meinu. That makes you look so normal. That makes you look so human. She said, yeah. Because when a wife will really give it to a husband, and the husband's going to storm out and say, what? After what she said to me? Never. I'm never walking back. Sarah Meinu also yelled at Avraham Avinu. Relax. You want someone better than Sarah? So she was willing to do this. In order that we should learn, that we should understand. So Kulan Shavan L'Toiva, she took everything in her life, even her mistakes, even her anger, and said, I did it, let's see how other people can gain from it. That's who Sarah Imeinu is. And that's why Avraham Avinu says, Shema B'Koila, listen to her nevuah. Her nevuah is greater than your nevuah. She never ran away from her problems. She said, let's come to terms with it. I'm sitting upstairs in my attic yesterday, and I just read a story, I don't know where it was, about somebody that got a subpoena, and they made him sign it, and they was being sued, and I was like, so I'm sitting up in my attic, and as I'm reading the story, my 10-year-old comes running upstairs, he goes, Tati, what? He goes, there's a man, and he describes somebody with like a black skin, that's downstairs, and he has a paper, and he says, your father has to sign this. I said, I can't believe this is real. I said, oh my, I said, time to go away. So he comes back. Tati says, no, you have to come down. Come go away. He says, you have to come down. And I'm like, I run. I should hide in the closet under the bed. I don't know how it works. So if I say, hello, grow up, and deal with it, whatever it is. So I went downstairs, and the bee's ringing the bell and ringing louder and louder. Hello. I'm like, okay, whatever it is. That's it. I'm not going to be a baby about this. Whatever it is. And I'm like sweating, and I walk over, and I see Nebuch, the poor Mexican that came to deliver the antibiotics from the drugstore, saying, Mister, how long I wait for you? You have to sign, you got medicine, and let me go. Get back on his bicycle and rides away. So I'm saying, so why does Hashem do this to us? Because Because the answer is every once in a while. The Rebbe says, hello, wake up. Don't run away from your problems. Deal with it, whatever it is. Deal with it. Light the fire. If you believe that you can't do more, I'll keep the fire going. Bake the challah. If you believe you can't do more, says the Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'll keep the challah going. Do your best to create an environment of tahara in your house. On kosher oil, I'll do the rest. I'll do the rest. Marsha says that this goes to the three things that Sarah Imenu had, the challah that kept on baking, and the candle that kept on baking, and the onan that represents challah, nida, lakas aner, nefesh, ruach, neshama. Do we understand what this is all about? So how could it be, Taka, that Sarah Imenu leaves this world in shock? What the Pashup Shah in the Medrash, the giant says, alright, he's about to shecht him, huh? She dies. So I saw a beautiful pshat. David HaMelech said, we just had it in those learning Daf Yomi. David says to Hashem, tell me the day I'm going to die. Kitzai midas yomai, they're really two different things. And Masha says, Kosh Baruch says, I can't tell you. Because a person always has to be on the level of, says the Marsha, Shuv yon echad koydem isascha, do tshuva one day before you die, and therefore I can't tell you when. But I'll tell you that it's going to be on Shabbos. On Shabbos? No! After Shabbos. Can't be after Shabbos. Ein malchus negas b'chavata kamol einima. I'm very sorry. When every president gets elected, everything is an ashgochem and hashemayim from day one. So David says, you know what? Take me a day early. What does that have to be on Shabbos? Take me on Friday. And the Rabban Hashem said, no. Toiveli is better for me yoim echad. Even one day, shata oisik b'Torah, that you're learning Torah. May elef oilis and 1,000 carbon oilis. She'asid b'nechel lahakriv gabi hamizbeach. I'm not giving up one day of your Torah at night. So every Shabbos, David HaMelech learns without stop. The Sultan can't get to him. I heard that this is one of the reasons for Malav Malka is David HaMelech Suda. Because every time it came to Mitzvah Shabbos, so David made like a Suda's Haidah, that he made it through another Shabbos. That's why the Malav Malka is the Suda of David. What do you make the Suda's Haidah for? Next week you're in the same boat. I'll deal with 1 week at a time. I'll deal with the next week. So then Chazal say, but it was time for David to leave this world. So the Sultan came and he couldn't get to him because he wouldn't stop learning. So the trees began to sway back and forth and sway back and forth. There were storms outside. And David went to running to see what was happening, and he tripped over the step gave in, and he fell down. It's interesting, the Gemara says, Shlomo Melech came running, and he said, what do I do? Abba mutal b'chama, my father's laying in the sun, the body's laying in the sun, can we move it? It's muktzah. Uklopn shel beis Abba, re'even, and the dogs of father's house are hungry. Are we allowed to feed them on Shabbos? Are we allowed to cut up the nevel of them? As Rashi says, they're two independent shilas. Like Shlomo, now you come running about the dogs. I mean, your father just like, now you never had the shilah beforehand. So I once heard of Pshat. David knew what was at stake here, right? He knew what was at stake. He had to keep learning. So what if the trees are going to look at the hurricane? So what if the trees shake? But David was David HaMelech. And if trees were shaking, he had to go running to see if anybody was hurt. He had to running to see if he has to send his version of FEMA. He has to be there and make sure everyone is saved. It may cost him his life, he doesn't care. But even then, as he was running to do chesed, the Sultan could have still not got him. That's why he had to be distracted with the step gave way. So when the step gave way, there was a split second of Hesach Hadas. So his neshama should be able to be taken. Sorry, Menu also never stopped. Despite all of her travails in life, she's always baking, she's always cooking, she's always being mechazik others. The Sultan can't get her. So he got her for a moment to be shocked by a Kedas Yitzchak. She didn't die from the shock, but it just distracted her for a split second from her chesed. So Lamaisa, what do we learn from here? Us little people. So it says Klobim Tzayakim. It says when the dogs bark in the middle of the night, the Liyoya Navi comes. That means that they sense a Liyoya Navi. The dogs, they sense the Geula. David HaMelech represented Geula. When David HaMelech left this world, there was a darkness. Geula went on hold until David can return. And the dogs felt that void, and they began to scream, and they began to yell. So now, when there are shaking trees outside, what do we have to do as a people? We can't get tired, we can't get distracted from chesed. We have to be Meiser Nefesh ourselves. Now it says, Avram Avinu vayakam yal pnei meisai, and what does he do? What's the first thing he does? Go find the shidduch. Like you're going, wow. Very quick from a veilus to a shidduch. Avram said, I can't get depressed. I can't ask questions. I have to draw courage from Sarah Meinu, who passed away. Her attitude in life was, the world's caving in on me, I'm making challahs. The world's caving in on me, I'm lighting an air. The world just caved in, Sarah died, I'm finding a shidduch for Yitzchak. And therefore, when Rivka comes back, it's Vayinochem Yitzchak Achar Imai. He feels his mother's presence. That's the Kayach Avibra Neshama into Rivka, which obviously was a tzedekis along the same level. And once again, the neiros are burning. And once again, the challah is cooking nonstop. And the onan is around. Because when Rivka comes back, and Sari Meinu looks down from Shemayim and says, you didn't get depressed that I died. You just went out to find a shidduch for Yitzchak. Now I am here. I'm here. You know, a lot of people are nervous about the elections. What's going to be in the next 4 years? I want to ask you something. Do you or I or anyone know what's going to happen in our personal life in the next 4 years? That it should even make a difference to us who's president. What are we thinking? You know, we act like babies. Almost as bad as Wall Street. Wall Street lost 300 points today. Tell me, you think for the next 4 years they're going to lose 300 points? Nah, they're going to get over it. President Obama is, well, we'll work with it, right? So what are you getting excited? Tomorrow's going to be back up, I hope. So now, tell me, you think President Obama himself knows what's going to happen in the next 4 years? Does he know what he got himself into now? Don't you realize how we know nothing? So that we went out, you do our established, you do what you want, and fine. The Rabbi Shalom made him president, I mean, he belongs to be president. Let's relax, take it easy. Whatever's going to be is going to be. We go weiter. So I want to tell you one thing what Rav Palm used to say in the Shalom Bayis room. This was a theme that happened many times. He says, you know why boys have a hard time finding shidduchim? Because a woman is supposed to be your helper in life. Now imagine you went out and you hired a helper. Come in here, I need some help. Yeah, what would you like me to do? I have no clue. What did you hire me for? To help. What do you want me to do? I don't know. So what did you hire me for? I need a helper. To help what? He says, if you don't know who you are in life, how could you find a helper in life? You don't know what you wanted to help you with. So he went on to say that before you go into shidduchim, you have to have a vision of what you want to be in your life. Then you realize, then the girl realizes what she wants a boy to help her with, and the boy realizes what she wants a girl to help her with. And Rav Palm used to say, if you have a vision, he used to use these words, then you're not going to go shopping. It bothered Rav Palm to no end. When a boy would come, met a girl, it was the first girl, everything is nice, okay, you know, but I want to look around, you know, I want to buy the first thing on the shelf, you know, I want to look around the different department stores. But what are you going shopping? You just said you met a girl and everything is good. Why? Where are you going? Rav Palm never yelled. That's what he said. Okay? He said if you have a vision of who you are, there's no need to go shopping. You know what Rav Palm said? You know why Chas and Kala fast on the day of the Chasana? It's as a kapara for all those shidduchim that they unnecessarily rejected and caused pain because they wanted to go shopping. Right? What are you going shopping for? So I want to share something with you in closing. There was a Yid, Rav Shloima, I don't know what his last name was exactly. It's a Talmud of the Chassam Sofer. He had a little boy, Chaim. Chaim was 6 years old. His father passed away. The world caved in on him. He was extremely close to his father. His mother, Zelda, went out. She worked as a peddler to try to earn. She had enough money for the week. She stopped. She had enough money for the week. She came home to take care of her children. She saw it wasn't going to work, so she remarried. She remarried a well-to-do person. And this Chaim grew up. He had a tremendous cheshek Torah. In those days, there was a compulsory education in Slovakia. And his teachers saw he was a great mathematician. They went to his father, sent him, we'll get him a scholarship to the equivalent of Harvard in Slovakia. And his father was all excited about it. And he told his mother, this is not what I had in mind. Then he had a stepbrother that was pushing it. And she couldn't go against her new husband. After all, this is the one that's going to, supporting her. And one day, Chaim woke up. And he walked into the corner and he saw his mother crying her heart out. And saying, please, Rabbi Shalom, let my son be who he wants to be. And this 12-year-old boy said, Mama, but I can't do it here. I'm going to have to go learn at yeshiva. They met the yeshiva without a dormitory, yeshiva without food. And she had no money to give him. And his stepfather wasn't going to give him money because what are you turning down a scholarship for? And the pain of that separation was so great you can't imagine. And Zelda said, go, my son, go. When he was 12 years old, he went to learn at yeshiva. But Tzvi Mannheimer, He said he said he had everything he needed. He had a straw bed on a plank someplace. He had food every second day. In a system which was not very, shall we say, quality, called tag, where you came to eat by supper and you would knock on the door and everyone had to take in a bucket for supper, I don't know. But he sat and learned like he never sat and learned before. He said the only problem he had, that he couldn't fulfill the mitzvah of Yizgaber Kuari Lamay Baboiker, because when you slept on that plank, it was a pleasure to get up in the morning. And then he went to Preshburg, and he learned by the Ksav Sofer. One day he learns the Gemara that the Rebbeinu Shalom expects you to get married before you're 20 years old. Should I? Shouldn't I? And he checks the mail and he sees he got a draft notice. A draft notice for a Jew in the Slovakian army meant, you could be stabbed from the front to the back. So he said to Rebbeinu Shalom, if I get out of this draft, then I will marry the first girl that comes along. And there was a bacher who overheard that and said, aha! And he stood there. They let him go because he had flat feet. He didn't have flat feet. And the second he walked out, he said, my sister. And his sister was a very good person. But his father-in-law, Rabbi Yehuda Leib Zeltzer, was a shaykhid in a little town and extremely, extremely poor. And the Ksav Sofer was against the shidduch. What are you doing? And he said, I promised. This is what I promised. This was my matzah at that moment. I followed what the Rebbeinu Shalom wanted me to do. It's interesting, the Ksav Sofer gave him a smicha then, and he said that he never read it till he was 40 years old. For 20 years he kept it in his pocket. So he moves to his father-in-law's house. He has nothing. Everybody was against the shidduch. What are you doing? You could have had the greatest gevir in town. He said, at that moment, this was my ishtadlis. I followed through. What's going to be is going to be. When he went to the town of his father-in-law, Kubbersdorf, he became very close with another Talmud of the Chassam Sofer, Rabbi Avram Shag, the Marshag. Became extremely close with him. When his in-laws moved away, they said, come with us. That's the only way we can support you. He said, I can't leave my Rebbe. And his wife was left alone. And she was very depressed. And he said, Rebbeinu Shalom, what can I do? She's all alone. Money I can't give her, and I don't want money! I beg if you give her simcha. And he did whatever he can to make her happy. It's interesting, before he got married, they made a stipulation. Not only did he not get a dowry, he had to come up with a new suit for his wedding. And he begged, and he finally got the money for the suit. And he went to see his mother. He hadn't seen his mother in years. And when the train came to the train station, he was so excited to see his mother. He ran down and hugged his mother. And the train took off with his suitcase and everything. Lost everything. Didn't say a word. Didn't want his mother to have Chalish Sadas. They got a wagon ride. It's a whole story how until he got it back. And then when Rav Avram Shag said to him, I'm moving to Eretz Yisrael, in those days, in the 1800s, you were very old. You went to Eretz Yisrael to die. That was it. And Rabbi Yosef Chaim Zonnefeld said, Rebbe, I'm going with you. He said, you have to ask your wife. And he went to his wife, and his wife said, you gave me the bracha of happiness. You think I'm going to stop you now from growing who you are? And that is the story of Rabbi Yosef Chaim Zonnefeld, who probably is the one person that saved Yerushalayim, that saved every from person in the Yesharim is in his chus. Because he had the seichel to say, this was the moment, I move. I'm not going to think what I could have, what I should have. I jumped into what I have to have. He did not go shopping. He said, Rebbeinu Shalom, thank you for what I have. Rabbi Yosef Chaim Zonnefeld later said that if he would have married the daughter of a Gevir, it would have never happened. And who knows where we would be, or where the Yidden of Yerushalayim shall be. And that's Parasha Chayei. Parasha Chayei, and whatever's going on in this world tells us, don't go shopping. Don't try to acquire anything. Do what you have to do, and you'll be surprised how long that candle will burn, how beautiful the cloud will be, and how geschmack that challah will turn out.